Okay, guys, I guess we're going to go ahead and get started here this morning. I'm supposed to be sharing this also on Facebook, but Facebook does not want to cooperate, at least not on my computer. We've got this recording in the cloud, so we'll go ahead and get started here. Today's presentation, we're just going to be doing a brief introduction to Nebula. This is something we do every month, just for those of you that are interested in it. If you have any questions as we go through today, please use the Q&A window. The Q&A window there will be how I'll see any questions you send in. Do not use chat. Do not raise your hand. I will not see those. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. So here we go. Today we're talking about Nebula. So what is Nebula? Nebula is basically the idea behind Nebula is to move all management of your networks, your customers' networks, up into the cloud. So that way you've got easy access to it no matter where you are. Kind of the design philosophy behind this is to give a unified interface when you're managing things. So whether you're talking about the gateway, the switches, or the access points, you're going to basically be using the same GUI, the same UI, the same pane of glass to manage those, and to sort of give you a stripped-down, streamlined version of your traditional network device GUI, basically highlighting all the key features that you will need, making them easy to set up using wizards and things like that. So we'll move forward here. So this is just going to show you the traditional things that you would normally have to do in a network. If you see one of these puzzle pieces gray, that's an area where we're saving you time, saving you money, or saving you a little bit of both. So of course you still have to buy the network equipment you're going to deploy at your customer location. You still have to install the equipment, so that's going to be the same. But the local configuration is going to take a lot less time since there's no local configuration for most networks. So you don't have to send a network engineer on site to be able to set things up. The devices themselves will automatically reach out to the cloud, download their configuration, as long as they've got power and DHCP. So when it comes to monitoring things, you don't need to worry about which monitoring protocols you're going to use. The cloud acts as your monitoring platform. You don't need to worry about setting up remote access, so no VPNs, no port forwarding, nothing like that. We take care of all of that for you through the cloud. And the cloud itself is going to be where your information is configured. So you don't need something like SolarWinds, Zabbix, or something like that to keep an eye on your network, although we do still support standard SNMP. So if you've already got a platform you like, you can continue to use it. Logs are automatically stored in the cloud if you're using our Pro Pack for up to 1 year. So you don't need to worry about finding a place to store those logs. Updates are simplified. It's all done through the cloud. It's coordinated. You can do it on a schedule. You can predefine that schedule in advance and then never touch it again. We've also got some other extra tools in there to make it easy for you to clone existing sites or existing customers to help speed up the deployment for you. And we've got some smart checks in there to make sure that when you're configuring things, we don't accidentally take a device offline or cause it to lose connectivity, such as applying a VLAN tag in the wrong order or something like that. And then, of course, you've got your user and device maintenance, so that's pretty much the same. So key takeaway, though, is we're saving you time and saving you money. And we're going to take a brief pause here. We're going to try Facebook one more time. It finally unfroze. So let's give this a shot. Give me just a second, guys. It'll just take me a minute to get going on this, I hope. Dun, dun, dun. Give me just a second, guys. The interface is not fast or stable. Okay, there we go. We add in a quick title here. Hitting go live, and it appears to be freezing up again. Oh well. So we'll continue on. So we'll start going through some of the steps here, what goes on with Nebula, some of the benefits for you. So the first one is you can set up without unboxing. We put QR codes both on the hardware itself and on the outside of the box. So if you have something shipped to you from distribution, or you yourself have a warehouse where you like to store your stuff before it goes to the customer site, before you ship it out to the customer site, all you need to do is walk along there with your mobile phone or your tablet, scan in the QR code, and that's all you need to do. It'll pop up. You'll assign it to a customer. You'll assign it to a site under that customer. And from that point on, Nebula does everything automatically itself. So you don't need to take the hardware out of the box before you ship it out to the customer location to do any sort of pre-configure or anything like that. Once the equipment's plugged in, it will power on, it will boot up, it will reach out to the cloud, it'll find out where it's supposed to be, and it'll download the configuration and any firmware updates it needs. And in general, just because of the way we've streamlined the interface, you can go from basically not having an account in the Nebula cloud to having an access point booted up and running with a captive portal with a custom message in less than 5 minutes. So there's no additional hardware or software required for Nebula to work. There's no cloud keys, there's no virtual machines, there's no software that needs to be loaded on a local device. Everything is done through a standard web browser, through an internet connection to the cloud. So anywhere you've got your phone on you, anywhere you've got any sort of device with a web browser, you will be able to see all of your customers, all of their networks, and see what's going on, and log in to make any configuration changes that you need. The mobile app works for iOS and Android. Like I said before, we use this to scan in those QR codes. When you're installing hardware, you can also use this to take photos of where you've installed each individual piece. So that way, later on, if you have to go back on site 6 months, a year down the road, you'll be able to look and see where that hardware was installed to help you narrow it down and find it faster. It also gives you a snapshot of what's going on all your customer networks. If you're using our Pro Pack, it'll give you push alerts if any devices go offline, and it also gives you some basic configuration for your wireless through the mobile app. So we've got easy guest access. We provide a captive portal in the access points themselves. So if you're just looking to provide wireless guest access, it doesn't matter what's going on your gateway. If you are using one of our gateways and you would like to provide captive portals to not only wireless users, but maybe people that are plugging in through certain wired devices, such as in a hotel, we can do that too. So captive portals either on the gateway or on the access point. Captive portal's super flexible. So we've got a basic captive portal in there for you. You can set it up. You can do some minor customization. If you don't like that, you can go in and you can edit the HTML and CSS files to give you even more flexibility on what that captive portal page looks like. And if that's not enough for you, you can host your own website. We'll give you the code to incorporate into it on your own web server, so you can point them to there if you need some more flexibility. When it comes to logging in, we can log in with username and password. We can do a terms of service agreement page. We can have them log in with Facebook. If you're using Pro Pack, we also support the full Facebook Wi-Fi functionality. So a lot of different ways of doing the captive portal based on the application. So we'll talk briefly here about wireless. So Nebula supports Smart Mesh. Most of our APs support this. So with Smart Mesh, it's basically zero configuration meshing, or creating a wireless mesh between different access points. So not all of your access points need to be hardwired back into the network. If they boot up and see that they are not connected to an Ethernet port, or that Ethernet port is not passing traffic, they'll switch over into mesh mode and automatically find any additional Nebula access points to connect to. So that's real nice. There's no extra licenses or fees for using that. Of course, we support WPA2 enterprise security, and we support 802.1r, KV, etc., to help with roaming and load balancing. So on the switch side of things, all of our Nebula switches support intelligent PoE, where instead of using classification-based to determine how much power each device is going to eat up out of your PoE budget on the switch, we'll intelligently monitor those devices and figure out the real amount of power that those devices need to be up and operational. And then we'll free up the rest of that power in that power budget for additional devices. So you can fit more devices onto smaller power budgets. We include, user-friendly ACLs, VLAN configuration, 802.1x authentication, loop guard, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And all of our switches are virtually stacked, so you can configure multiple ports across multiple switches all at the same time as if you were one switch. And updates are done automatically over the air. So anytime you make a configuration change in the cloud, within 30 seconds to, in some cases, maybe up to 5 minutes, generally it's around 2 minutes, the device is checked to see if there's been an update, and will automatically then download that update and apply it. So it's not as fast as if you were directly managing the devices, but any changes you do make will automatically get pushed out for you. As I mentioned before, we have some intelligence that goes into that. So if you're changing VLAN tags around and things like that, we'll make sure to apply those in the correct order so none of your devices get isolated and lose remote connectivity. And we do the same thing here with firmware updates. Those will automatically be pushed out for you. We have a default schedule, but you can go in and manually change that schedule on a organization by organization basis. So, if you've got one customer that wants the latest firmware updates and you've got another customer where you want to wait until you've tested those updates before they get pushed out, you can do that. If you'd like to update your switches on a different schedule than your gateway or your access points, you can do that. When it comes to using our MSG security gateways, we've made site-to-site VPN really easy for you. You simply go choose the sites you want to be connected, tell it whether you want it to be a hub and spoke or star topology, and hit apply. We take care of all the hard configuration of those VPN tunnels ourselves for you. So you can get up and running really quick without a lot of that hassle that normally goes into setting up site-to-site VPNs. So Nebula was created from the ground up, excuse me here, to make it easy for you to support multiple customers and multiple networks under those customers. So everything here was designed to make it easy for you to do that. So if you're not currently an MSP, it gives you the flexibility there to make it easier for you to move into providing and price tiering managed services as it comes to network management and deployment for you. And just in general, makes it easy for you to keep an eye on everything. You don't have to have a spreadsheet somewhere with all the different IP addresses and port forwards and VPN credentials that you need to remote manage those sites. It's all going to be done just by logging into nebula.zyxel.com and logging in with your username and password. So this is just showing here on the right. This is what you're going to see when you log in. It's a little dashboard there. It shows you all of your customers and gives you a brief snapshot. Are they using the free version of Nebula? Are they using Nebula Pro Pack? If they're using Nebula Pro Pack, is it likely to expire anytime soon, or is it still good? And then how many sites and devices they have on each of those sites. Gives you a nice snapshot. Click down into one of your customers, and it'll take you here to this snapshot, which shows you all of the sites that that customer has. So if you've got a customer with multiple sites, you can drag and drop those sites onto a map so you can see, by physical location where they are. And again, a little snapshot of each site letting you know what's going on that site, health, how many devices are on or offline, etc. And then once you drill down into that, you get our nice dashboard there. If you're just doing wireless, if you're just managing wireless through Nebula, we do have an alternate dashboard that's just focused on wireless. The one you see on the screen there is for a full network. So you can see, it shows your devices that are online, how many client devices are connected, PoE power budget versus utilization. And it'll let you know where your bandwidth is going, which applications are eating up your bandwidth. Do you have an employee that's watching a lot of YouTube or Netflix at work? You'll know. And then up at the top of the screen, it makes it really easy for you to jump between sites and jump between customers. So Nebula itself is free. Unlike some of the other free solutions out there, it's not limited to numbers of devices or anything like that. So you can manage an unlimited number of devices, an unlimited number of customers, and have full access to configuration of all your devices, Nebula Dashboard, et cetera, lifetime free. Nothing you need to buy, no mandatory licenses. So just to reiterate here, Nebula is designed to allow you to manage switches, access points, and our MSG series of gateway products. So you will see some products called Nebula Flex. So let's explain that a little bit. When we first rolled out Nebula, you had to use equipment that was specifically built for Nebula and can only be managed with Nebula. Since then, we've rolled out Nebula Flex to our access points and to our switches. So this allows those devices to either operate as a cloud-managed device or operate and be managed as a traditional networking device. So you can switch back and forth between those modes, although the configuration doesn't pass back and forth between them. And then on the access points, we also have some stuff called Nebula Flex Pro. So Nebula Flex Pro access points can be used with the cloud, can be used standalone, or can be managed by one of our USG, ATP, or UAG gateways. The Nebula Flex Pro also include 1 year of our Pro Pack license, and we'll talk a little bit more about what Pro Pack gets you in some upcoming slides here. Just to show you here, if you're using a Nebula Flex device, by default, it'll boot up into standalone mode. If you want to use it in the Nebula Cloud, it's really easy. You log into your Nebula account, and you add the device to a customer site. So you can do that by manually typing in the information or scanning that QR code. But within a few minutes, the device will reboot itself from standalone mode back into Nebula mode. And then if at ever some point in the future here you want to take it out of Nebula mode and use it as standalone again, maybe you're moving it to a different customer or something, it's really easy. You just log into the Nebula Cloud, unregister the device, and within a few minutes the device will reboot back into standalone mode, completely severed from the Nebula Cloud connection. So now we'll talk a little bit about the licenses that we offer here. So again, the core Nebula functionality is free, but we also offer something called Professional Pack. This is sort of aimed primarily more at our MSP type of guys, those of you that are trying to provide proactive monitoring of the network, providing reports and things like that to your customer. So some of the stuff that you get with the Pro Pack. You get push notifications or email alerts when devices go offline, and that's customizable as to how long they're offline before you get that alert. Instead of a week's worth of log information, we give you a full year's worth of log information. Instead of 5 admin accounts per organization, we give you an unlimited number of admin accounts per organization. We give you a bunch of different custom reports, and I think we'll talk about some of those on an upcoming slide. We give you a network topology view, so we'll automatically generate a topology view showing you which devices are plugged into which additional devices. We give you some site cloning functionality. What else do we give you in there? We give you an unlimited cloud user database, so if you want to use 8021X and have it point to a cloud database instead of setting up your own Radius or Active Directory database, you can use the cloud with an unlimited number of accounts there. And we also provide an audit log, so we'll track every configuration change, when it was made, and who made that change. So if you're troubleshooting something down the road, you can always go back and find out who made that configuration change and talk to them to find out why they did it, or at least see when it went live to see if maybe that's causing your problem, or no, that happened 2 months ago, so that can't be causing the problem that just started happening last week type of thing. On the switches, we upgrade the bandwidth control to give you granular bandwidth control, both uplink and downlink speeds, and user-level bandwidth management in the MSG Gateway. We give you a really cool IPTV broadcast, so if you're providing IPTV in an MDU type scenario or MXU scenario, we'll give you a nice little report. We'll give you extra access to some advanced multicast settings, and we'll give you these reports that show you, who's watching what, which channels are being watched. We'll also try to proactively monitor and alert you to any sort of performance issues that we see with those IPTV streams, frames drop, things like that, and we'll give you some suggestions on what settings need to be adjusted to make those problems go away for you. We give you a wireless health report. So the wireless health report basically summarizes all of the clients that are on the network and lets you know when they've had poor connectivity to the access point. This is based on airtime utilization. So if you've got somebody, we'll proactively let you know, hey, this guy, for whatever reason, he's having some poor connectivity problems. Maybe he's too far away from the access point. Maybe he's in an area where there's lots of co-channel interference. So then you can proactively go out there and adjust your network to solve those issues. And as I mentioned previously, with the Pro Pack, we give you the ability to clone sites and organizations, so you don't have to manually reconfigure everything. You can take an existing site that you have that's 90% the same as your new site, clone that over, and then just change the few things that need to be configured differently. We allow you to use configuration templates. Right now, those are limited on the switches, but we'll keep expanding that So it'll let you make changes across multiple sites simultaneously. For instance, guest VLAN tag, you want to change that across multiple sites, you can do that. And we also give you the ability to back up your configurations and create restore points for you. So the free version of Nebula, when you're doing your captive portal, we do have Facebook login where people can use their Facebook account to log in. Pro Pack also unlocks what's called Facebook Wi-Fi, which is a little extra feature that they provide, which basically lets you, if you're providing free internet to your customers at a coffee shop or business, to get them so they have to, or at least are suggested to make it easier for them to have to check in and share with their friends that they're checking in at your business to be able to get their free Wi-Fi access. So that's it for Pro Pack. We'll move on from here, talk a little bit about our security pack. So this is for our MSG gateways, and if you're looking to provide UTM services, antivirus, IDP, content filtering, this is the license that you need. This is independent of whether you're using the Nebula free version or the Nebula Pro Pack. So some of the cool features we unlock with this are application awareness. So this lets you go in, gives you reports, and shows you what's eating your bandwidth by user and application. Whoops, went a little too far there. It also allows you to go in there and set up your firewall rules based on individual applications. So instead of needing to know IP addresses and port ranges and things like that, you can just go in there and say, hey, I want to block Facebook Messenger, and it'll do it for you. Or hey, I want to block Netflix, it'll do it for you. We've also got these reports here showing you internet utilization, antivirus reporting, so it will show you which attacks it's seen, that it has blocked, and let you know, and you can drill down in those and see which IP address they came from, or I think which one they targeted, etc. So here's your quick summary. On the left there is your free stuff that you get with Nebula. Again, unlimited number of devices, unlimited number of customers, free for the life of the product. Shows you there what we talked about before, the other additional stuff that the Pro Pack license unlocks for you. Now the Pro Pack license is available either as an annual license or as a lifetime license. So that perpetual license, you buy it once. It's sort of like a seat license. You buy, I need X number of APs, X number of switches. It is not locked to the hardware, so you can always remove hardware, move it to another site, and put in new hardware. So if you need to upgrade from an 8-port to 24-port switch, you don't need to buy a new license. If you need to upgrade your wireless network from 802.11ac up to the Wi-Fi 6, don't have to buy a new license. So our lifetime license, just to give you a rough idea on pricing, our lifetime license for one AP should cost you less than 1 year of Meraki's license. And with Pro Pack, if you're doing the annual license, should those licenses expire and you decide not to renew them, you don't get locked out of your equipment. It just falls back to the free version of Nebula. And then there's that separate security pack if you're using our gateway. All of our gateways are going to include 1 year of Pro Pack and 1 year of the security license out of the box. So there's no additional licenses you need to buy up front when you buy our equipment. So here's our switches. We've got our dedicated NSW series of Nebula-only switches. Those include 1 year of Nebula Pro Pack, and then we've got our Nebula Flex models, basically everything GS1920, XGS 1930, and additional models coming out here soon. So those are all Nebula Flex. So they come without a Nebula license, but you can add Pro Pack at any time if you like. And then to make things really confusing, here's our access points. Lots of access points. Pretty much everything these days is Nebula manageable. And depending on the model, comes with either no Nebula Pro Pack, 1 year of Nebula Pro Pack, or 3 years of Nebula Pro Pack. So I don't expect you to memorize this. If you want a copy of this slide or this information, just reach out to your salesperson. Jacob, Ivan, Sandy, all of them, they can provide you this information as a PowerPoint slide or as a handout. So that's it for today's webinar. If you sort of like this and you're interested in Nebula, we've got a free demo. You can log into it anytime. Simply go to nebula.zyxel.com and log in with the username and password that's shown on the screen there. And that'll take you into our demo account where we've got multiple sites set up so you can play around, look at the reports, see the functionality. The other thing you can do is reach out to your salesperson. Again, that should be either Jacob, Ivan, or Sandy, and let them know you'd like to demo Nebula, and they can arrange to get you a 60-day demo hardware shipped out to you so you can play with either at your own location or at a customer site. We just ask that you return it after 60 days, or if you like it and like to keep it, we'll sell it to you. So that is it for today's presentation. Any other questions that you may have at this point, please send them in via Q&A, and I will try to answer them for you. I'm not seeing any questions, so I'm going to go ahead and end today's webinar. If you do have questions, my email is up there on the screen, or you can just reach out to your salesperson and let them know what's going on there. So again, thanks guys, I appreciate you coming out. And also, if you have any suggestions for future webinars, tech talks, trainings, let us know. Email me, email your salesperson, and let them know. We put these webinars together for you to try to give you a little extra value. So we need your suggestions as to what additional topics you'd like to see us covering, what additional information you'd like to see. So we'll take that in mind and maybe come up with some new webinars that are more valuable for you. Let us know. Thanks, guys.